All right, so let's get down to the basics. What are you guys doing at NextLight? What is it? Like, what's, I mean, yeah, it's, you guys have got some buzz going out there. We hear about it, but what are you doing?
NextLight is a municipal broadband provider that we built to about 45,000 homes in Longmont, Colorado. We've covered about 95% of the city with a fiber-based gig service. We were a gig city, ranked as
You're gigging it up.
We're gigging it up. Ranked the third fastest internet provider in the United States by PC Magazine. We have 2 competitors in the marketplace. Yet we have about, we just passed 60% penetration for the market.
2 tier 1 competitors at that.
2 tier 1 competitors, yeah. So we have a little over 25,400 customers, I think it is, or somewhere close to that. So the big excitement, the big buzz around our place is that we did our first 10 gig installation to a friendly on Friday, and it went well.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Cheers to
Cheers.
that.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
We have, and with all that said, and being built out to 95% of the city, we still have a lot of expansion to do. Longmont continues to annex land, do annexations of different plots of land that are north of Highway 66, where we don't have a presence today, yet it's still within the LPC footprint. And so I think we've got about 3,200 MDUs that we plan on turning up in the next 18 months or so.
Wow.
And then there's a lot of, 1 square mile plots that are being set aside for additional subdivisions and other apartment complexes that are going in there. There's also redevelopment of a ton of land. We have a Costco that's moving in along the I-19 corridor, or the 119 corridor. And then along with that, we also have redevelopment of the sugar mill that's going on, and that's going to be kind of a mixed use business, residential, a lot of what you guys are seeing, in the Denver market and stuff. So
let's back up a little bit. I mean, you guys obviously, as Brian said, there's other tier 1, tier 2 providers. You guys are coming in, fiber forward approach. What are you doing differently? Why? I mean, it's kind of obviously an uncommon practice. You're going against some big dogs. You're trying to go full fiber. Like, what was the driver to take this approach?
I can say something about that.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I've been there since 2014,
Yeah.
and I gotta tell people all the time that we're lucky to live in little old Longmont because we have this fabulous network. But it was really the community. The community was behind it 100%. We did the whole Google Fiber thing where we tried to be a Google city, and so the citizens rallied around that, and that's what really kind of piqued everybody's interest. But
So was it actually the community driving community leaders saying we need something?
it was. So,
Okay.
Going back into the 90s, there were residents that were saying, hey, I want DSL service. Somebody was actually saying, I want DSL service. This was in the 90s. Like they have.
Hey, we're all old enough. We
We got you.
like they have down in Denver.
Yeah.
Or I want cable modem like they have in Denver. So it was one of those things where the incumbents did not want to build out to Longmont, and so the citizens decided they wanted to do it on their own. And they kind of have a history of that. So we've ran our own electric utility since early 1900s.
Yeah.
So the
about
key is
150
fiery
years.
communities.
What's that?
The communities that are all fired up. That's what you want. You want
Exactly.
the engaged in communities to be able
That's
to do
what,
things.
in my opinion, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think the other thing that makes it unique, and I came from one of the incumbents.
I know you neglected to say that.
I did. But it's the fact that we're local, and I know that really sounds simple. I mean, it just. But we had an instance. I think it was last weekend where somebody called in on a Sunday morning, and you would have thought that a government office was down or something. The emails were going back and forth because we had this customer that was out of service on Sunday, and we got them taken care of. The call center is local. We just opened a network operations center that's local. All of our technicians are local. And the technicians, and this is going to sound bad, but the technicians didn't come in with all this baggage. Well, we used to do it this way, back in the old days. Or that we have technicians that, they're plumbers and garage door guys, and they worked in the oil fields and stuff. And so they grew up with this network, and they've run this network themselves since, Ian was here in 2014.
So there's a sense of pride.
So it is.
It
Oh
is,
yeah,
yeah.
they have a huge sense of ownership with them, and they really take it. I mean, on a weekly basis, we get emails from customers thanking the technicians that were there for the great work they did, and they took the extra time to help them network all their devices together in the house. And it's such a different experience from a customer standpoint that you have with us than you do with the others that provide services in the market.
I mean, to that local point, we have a couple guys who actually grew up in the community. So we have
The mayor.
JT, who grew up and went to high school. So
Yeah.
a lot of these guys, people know.
So
They're-
let me
they're
ask you
neighbors.
guys a question, because everyone's talking about how difficult it is to hire good talent. How do you guys go about it? Because, I mean, obviously you're not looking at a lot of the normal sources, if you will. Seems quite open-minded about what you might bring in, and how do you determine if they're going to be good or not?
So we just hired a gentleman to be one of our fiber install technicians. And his background, he owned his own business. He did construction. And he was kind of that handyman, real entrepreneurial, kind of had his hands into everything. And as John did the interview with him, said, he's the guy. He's the one we want because he'll take on anything. And I got to tell you what, in the 4 months he's been with us, he's mastered it. He knows he's got the customer interfacing piece of it down because he was having to do that as he owned his own business. I don't want to oversimplify things, but an install is an install, and a repair is kind of repair. There's only a handful of things. So once you've had a vanilla ice cream cone, it's kind of the same experience every time. And you talk to him about it, and he goes, "Well, yeah, I've done that. It's not a big deal." And so I try to kind of steer away from somebody that has years in the industry. I'm glad they didn't steer away from that with me. But somebody that has years in the industry that doesn't have all these preconceived notions about how things are supposed to work, and they can learn it from the JTs of the world and the other technicians that we have there.
But they had grit.
Yeah, well, yeah. And the willingness to open themselves up to take instruction from a number of different people, and then the knowledge or the wit to figure out, well, I like the way this guy did it, but because it's more efficient than the way this person did it. So I'll get this, attribute from this person and this attribute from this person. And, you kind of have the benefit of taking seven people, 7 different technicians with probably a total in the network in Longmont of 50 years of experience, which is a ton. And you get to take all that, all those experiences and pick and choose from the best ones.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's great.
I feel like so many companies are just go down the traditional route, and obviously we don't have to do that.
No.
And we need to be way more open-minded if we're really going to
Gotta think
be able
again.
We got to think again, exactly.
Yeah.
Great book. Nice little plug. But that is really cool. I love hearing that. That's really cool. Because, coming from also working at a tier 1, that's just not the mentality
No.
at all.